All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some potential wars and conflicts going on in the LPDS compound. Hot, hot off the presses. Then, of course, I come back and give you the recap of my Italy trip. The a tremendous, fantastic trip. Talk about that in the Junction. All that, plus a cage fact coming at you right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything, and we have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. I had a great week until I got home from Italy. I'll give you that update in a second, but the trip was great. We'll talk about that in the Junction. So I hope everybody else had a pretty good week as well, and if nothing else, it was productive and helped you move the needle forward in your lives. I have so much to talk about, to catch up on, but I can't. I don't want to talk about all of it. I don't want to get too in depth about everything going on because some stuff is open. I'll get into that in a second. And I want to make sure that we have closure and updates to provide you in future episodes. So I'll just touch on a bunch of stuff today in this week's episode. Give you guys some updates in the Junction on the Italy trip, and then we'll call it from there, I guess you could say. Very quickly, in case you thought I forgot, I didn't. This is just your weekly reminder that the people in power are pedos and sex traffickers and criminals, and nobody in the Epstein files has been investigated or prosecuted in the U.S. yet. I imagine I didn't watch the news at all, and I haven't watched it in a while, but I've been out of the country, so I haven't seen anything U.S. related, and I imagine it's mum's the word on that. They're just sweeping that fully under the rug, and it seems like everybody's okay with it. It just seems like everyone's okay with it. The media did a really good job convincing enough American citizens that it's nothing to see here, folks. People who talk about it are nut jobs and conspiracy theorists, and you should roll your eyes at them for continuing to bring it up, because that's what it seems like most people are doing these days. It's just sad. We're not going to be those people, though. We're going to still talk about it. I'm going to still bring it up because it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me what's going on and how they're getting away with it, and how they've convinced so many of the people of this country that it is completely okay and that nothing happened. So I guess good job to the government and the media. Congratulations so far. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I'll probably do a Yankee stream Wednesday. I got to look at the schedule. I'm still trying to play catch up on life since coming back from the trip, but obviously no stream the past couple weeks. And so I'm going to try to get that going again. I haven't paid attention to the Yankees at all. Thankfully, because it's June, they usually stink ass in June. I know they're doing better. I've been seeing some revolt. Of course, the video is shot to shit. Of course, the video is shot to shit. Why wouldn't the video keep freezing on me? Why wouldn't it? Let me try to fix this. Stand by, folks. We're going to try to fix this thing because I can't do it. I don't have the patience to deal with it, this recording, this episode. So stand by. Let me see if I can fix something here. All right, I just had a conniption behind the scenes because I've turned this camera on 3 times, and 3 times it failed, and it's failing again right now. And I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind over this, but I can't keep going back and forth with this today. There are more important things in life than letting technology get the best of you emotionally. So we're going to press forward. But let me tell you something. I am losing my mind over this right now. I can't tell you how annoying it's been constantly. No matter what I try to do to remedy the situation on the tech side, it just doesn't seem to work. And I don't know if it's this computer, the bandwidth doesn't allow for it. I don't know what the hell the problem is, but we'll work through it. We'll press anyway. Most of you guys are listening on iTunes and Spotify's anyway, so you're not missing much. You're missing me rant and rave with a frozen screen on YouTube land. So anyway, what the hell was I talking about? What the hell was I talking about? So I get back from Italy. We're just gonna press because I forgot exactly what I was bitching and moaning about. So whatever. Anyway, I get back, and Friday I got a knock on my door that it's my neighbor Richard and another neighbor down the street, and they give me a letter. My Richard, good guy, Army veteran, helped guard the Berlin Wall way back in the day. No nonsense kind of neighbor, really right up my alley. Apparently, the HOA sent him a letter that his sidewalk was quote unquote out of regs, I guess you can call it. There was an uneven sidewalk block, and it was causing a tripping hazard. Well, the picture they had on the sidewalk was for my sidewalk, not his. So he brought the letter over. I guess he wasn't answering. He wasn't responding to the HOA when they were sending him letters. So the lady, the neighbor, is the wife of the newest HOA president. So she knocked on his door and was like, "Hey, Richard, you haven't been answering the letters." He's like, "What are you talking about? I haven't, it's not my property. What do I need to answer for?" And we found out it was because the pictures were from my property because I live right next door to him. It's my sidewalk, and the HOA is trying to squeeze me to fix the uneven sidewalk pavement. Now, this is literally the day I get back from my trip, so I'm tired. I'm not jet lagged. I'm just tired a little bit because I got in late the night prior. And this is just not something I want to deal with, obviously. I was very nice to them. Richard's a good guy. The lady's nice. But here's the deal, okay? And this is a very new developing situation we're in. We'll call it a Cold War right now. Because I have yet to hear directly from the HOA, like paperwork-wise, just verbally. And it still wasn't directly. It was from the first lady of the HOA, the president. So here's the situation. Apparently, they're trying to say that the sidewalk is not city property; it's property owner property, and that we have to pay for our own repairs. Meanwhile, the rest of the city of Houston, the city takes care of those repairs. You call up 311. And they come by and they take care of it. So I am going to talk to them first, the city, and try to verify some things before we go nuclear here. Obviously, you don't want to do that. And as you all know, when the LPDS calls a hot war, when we declare war, it's not good. It's not good for the enemy. So we're trying to avoid that at all costs. We always like to avoid war, diplomacy first. Because war is hell. So I'm going to call them and find out. But here's what chaps my ass right off the bat. That sidewalk has been uneven like that for over a decade. Now, I know for the past 3.5, 4 years, the sidewalk has been like that. And my neighbor Richard and my other neighbor Don and my other neighbor Eve, our block captain, the town gossip queen, not clean. They have all said the same thing. That sidewalk has been like that for years and years and years, and not one single time has the HOA board ever said anything about it. The reason, and I didn't obviously say this to the lady, but the reason it's being brought up now is because the new HOA president was voted in earlier this month. And when I say voted, I mean 2 people voted for him, and then the rest of the HOA doesn't participate in the voting. Because it doesn't do anything. Our HOA doesn't do anything. All they do is collect our annual dues, and they maintain the pool and the park for the kids, and the other shit that they do doesn't affect us at all. They have to maintain the landscaping on these esplanades that they call them, which, by the way, I thought the esplanade was the big thing in Newark that Johnny Sack and Tony Soprano were going halvesies on and collecting vig from. But apparently Esplanade is a nice, fancy, schmancy name for those islands in between roads of grass and trees that cause nothing but problems for drivers. That's what they maintain. Those pieces of island in the middle with grass, they have the landscaping. So our dues, our annual dues, which are not that much, go to pool maintenance, the clubhouse electricity, which is nothing because hardly anybody uses the clubhouse, the little playground by the pool, the tennis courts by the pool, and these stupid esplanades in the neighborhood that they get landscaping on. Oh, and by the way, they also get us $18 a year off of our garbage. How fucking thoughtful of them. How swell. Otherwise, they serve no purpose. Like most HOAs, they're useless. It's a scam. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just for old people who once had positions of power to feel like they have power and control again in retirement. When they have nothing else to do, and instead of spending time with their families and grandchildren or whatever it is, they have to feel something again. So they micromanage and nitpick the stupidest bullshit ever in the neighborhood and try to think that they have some sort of authority, like, oh, well, you're part of an HOA, you have to do this stuff. I dealt with it my first year with the grass in the driveway, the weeds in the cracks of the driveway were getting too long, and they were gonna charge me a fine. Get the hell out of here. I had a very, very short professional conversation that essentially told the guy, the inspector, quote unquote, that inspected my property, that I look forward to them trying to find me. And I look forward to them continuing to press this matter, because not only did they not have any sort of black and white regulation on what the weeds and grass and the sidewalk cracks, what the threshold was to be in violation or not. They had no idea what they were getting into. And after that conversation, I didn't hear back from the guy. So who knows what the hell happened to him. But that's what the HOAs do. They're a waste. They're a scam. The only reason why I'm in one now is because I got a great deal on this house. That's it. And because the dues are, it's like 700 hours a year. Here's another thing that pissed me off about the HOAs. You get your charged annual fee. Some places it's monthly. It's like 700 hours a month. That's crazy to me. I could never do that unless I was super rich and I would run for board president. The first thing I would do is disband the HOA once I win presidency. Because monthly dues like that are atrocious for no reason whatsoever. For landscaping. Oh, we got to keep the property values up. The property values have actually gone down since I've been here, and it had nothing to do with the HOA or anything. It just has to do with the times right now. Interest rates, stuff that's completely out of our control. So the HOA is literally doing nothing for us in that regard. Keep the neighborhood nice so the property value. Shut up. Shut up. You can't even maintain the speed bumps in the road. But another thing that really pisses me off about them is you get charged your dues, and then on the bill, they have administrative fees and interest on your annual bill. What am I paying for? What am I paying for if you're not taking these quote unquote administration fees out of the dues? That's part of it's part of the dues. What are all these additional charges? And I hate interest. Let me tell you something about interest. I fucking hate it. And any chance I can to not pay it and legally be allowed to not pay it, because most of the time, unless it's like the federal government or the state government charging interest on bullshit, these are just private company policies that they create interest. I had a fight with this company I go for my tax exemption stuff, or I guess it's a property tax protest. Every year, you know how if you own property, the city or the town or whatever, the county appraises your property for property tax purposes, and they always appraise it higher than the actual value because they want to squeeze the most taxes out of you because it's a crime, it's a racket. And this company will come in and protest for you, and then you know if they lower your appraisal value, that you pay them for it. And they tried to they just charge me interest, and I said, listen, I'll pay you for the service, but don't expect this $9 of interest. Okay, you can keep charging me. Send me to collections for all I care. You're not going to win. It's not going to happen. And they relented. They said, fine, no interest. Because interest is bullshit. And that's the same thing with this HOA. I paid the annual dues. I have not paid an administration fee or any interest in the 4 years I've been here. And the one time I tried to push back and say, well, you still owe admin fees, I said, kindly get fucked. I am already paying my dues. Take it out of that. Otherwise, we're gonna have the same conversation over and over again, and you're never gonna get your dues, your administration fees. And they threaten all this bullshit on you. They threaten all the bullshit. Oh, well, you know, you signed the agreement that when you buy this house, you abide by the HOA laws, and they can take your property. No, they can't. At the end of the day, they can't. They can threaten. They can send collection guys on you and muscle. And this is what you sign, and we can leverage your property, blah, blah, blah. They can't do it. They can't do shit. Okay? The HOAs are a scam. Okay? And they threaten you with power and all this other bullshit, but they don't have anything. They have no power. The only reason they have power is because people bend the knee and pay the fines and fix the shit and all the other crap. So when I got the notice that, oh, your sidewalk is out of regulations, I said, listen, lady, I know your husband just got voted in president and he's trying to wield his little wiener around town like he's doing something for the community. But if you think for 1 second I'm going to spend money out of my own pocket to fix a sidewalk that hasn't been touched in over a decade, that nobody had a problem with until now, you're out of your fucking gourd. And of course they have these deals with companies around the area, because on the notice that she handed to me, they already had contact information for concrete, construction contract companies. Oh, these people will give you a really good rate. The neighbors down the street, it only cost them $1,000 to get the sidewalk block replaced, because they want me to remove the whole square of sidewalk and replace it with a flat one. And I said, listen, lady, thanks for the notice. I said, I'll address this. She goes, oh, you're going to get it fixed? I said, no, I'll address this. Because I'm not paying $1,000 for a sidewalk that nobody gave a shit about until this asshole got into power with his 2 votes. An election, by the way, that took place while I was in Italy. So I couldn't even vote the guy out myself. So stay tuned for more updates on this one. Because as you guys know, for better or worse, there is nothing I live for more than a good war in the neighborhood. So I'll keep you posted. The very least that I'm going to relent is fixing it myself. A, because I like working with my hands. It'll give me a chance to work with my hands. This video is really pissing me off, guys, by the way. Um, and it'll stick it to the little side deals that this neighbor has with these contractors that she so graciously identified on the notice for me. A notice that still is not to me in my name. It's still my neighbor. So I'm not even going to address it until I get a notice directly to me. Oh, you have until September 29th to address the issue. Otherwise, fucking what, dude? Otherwise, what? What are you going to do if I don't address the sidewalk that hasn't been addressed in over a decade? What the hell do you think you're going to do? You going to take my house? You think I don't have the soldiers, the armament, the might, the military might in place to prevent that from happening? You think I don't have sausage and peppers on speed dial to represent me in a court of law? What do you think this is? Who do you think you're dealing with? Dress this by September 29th, 2026, or else. Or else fucking what? What are you going to do? Charge me a fine I'll never pay? Go ahead. Go ahead. You do nothing for this community. I never used the pool once. Not a single solitary time that I've ever used the pool. So go ahead. Take my pool privileges away. Okay. Boo fucking hoo-hoo. I never once walked on any of the esplanades that you mow the lawns for. I don't even know which ones you have jurisdiction over. So take away my esplanade rights. Okay. What else are you going to do? Kick me out of the HOA? Good. You can't take my house. You think you can. You can't take my house. The house isn't in your name. And on the mortgage and on the title, there is no mention of HOA on any of that. So don't threaten me with a good time is all I'm saying. Don't threaten me with a good time. You have until September 29th. Good. I can't wait till September 29th. I can't wait to see what happens to you. Because nothing's going to happen to me. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, I'll keep you guys posted on that. It was just a very interesting welcome to get back in the house. Speaking of which, as we move along, speaking of warm welcomes, I have officially declared war on the rats. I think I mentioned previously that there might be a rat issue in my garden. That has been confirmed with the hole that he dug, the tunnel he dug in my garden, which, by the way, has been in shambles. It rained and poured literally every day I was away. So I got 2 big tomato plants that have survived, one small one that is barely surviving, hang on by a thread. I don't think anything's good is going to happen with that. And then I have basically 1.5 pepper plants left. So we'll get some stuff. Who knows how it's going to end up. But we got a confirmed rodent in the garden I got to deal with. And then I think I have one in the garage as well. When I say I think, I know there's an animal there. I just can't confirm just yet if it's a rat. I'm trying to confirm that. I believe it's a rat based on the droppings it's leaving in my shoes in there and around the door in the garage. Yesterday I set up a trap, a mouse trap, put a little peanut butter on it. And the bastard set it off without getting stuck in it. Twice, by the way. Then I set up the trap again, and I set up a sticky trap right next to it. Now I prefer regular traps. Easy, Randy. I prefer regular traps because normally it takes them out of their misery. There's no torture. It just, they get their head stuck in there and they don't even feel it. They're just onto the afterlife. I don't like torturing if, if I can afford it. Sticky traps are torture, man. They really are. You get stuck in them and the only way out is to pull your limbs off. And I don't really particularly like doing that. So I didn't like having to put this down, but this thing, whatever it is, it's been what is the word? Avoiding, beating the defenses so far. That's not the word I'm thinking of, but not so much avoiding. There's another word I can't for the life of me figure it out right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But it's been beating me. Beat the trap. I put the sticky down too, and then it got stuck on the sticky trap and weaseled its way out. I think what happened was it just got its fur stuck on the sticky trap and just ripped its own hairs out to get out. So, which makes me think it's a bigger animal that it didn't get any limbs on there, just the hair, and it was able to weasel its way off and back to safety. So I have since set up another sticky trap. I got the regular trap also ready again. I got another regular trap in the wings. I'm going to put out there after this, and I set up my utility ring camera in the garage now to see if I can catch it and see what it actually looks like, so to know what I'm dealing with, because I don't want to get additional armament until I know what I'm dealing with, so I can know what kind of arsenal I need to bring to the table, bring to the fight. But right now this thing is not just a regular mouse for sure. It's definitely bigger than that based on the dumpies. But what I've been looking up, it looks like it's probably a rat. A cheesy and stink pot rat. And we don't like rats here. Nobody likes rats. So we got to figure that out. I've been checking my phone as I'm recording this to see if the utility cam has caught any footage of it, to see how it's maneuvering around the trap, around the sticky, how it's getting from A to B, why it keeps taking little pellet dumpies in my shoes. What's the deal there? How is it surviving? What do we got going on? You have to know your enemy. You have to study your enemy. You have to respect your enemy. You don't have to respect them as people or respect what but you have to respect the fact that they have a say in the fight. And this thing is a prey. So it spends its entire existence surviving and avoiding capture and death. So they're very skilled at what they do. That's how they survive. So I have to respect that. I can't get too cocky. Just because I'm bigger and smarter than this thing does not mean I'm automatically going to win. You can't go into that all cocky and unprepared in the fight, as you know. So we are currently in a pseudo recon phase. I set up traps that I am confident that this thing will avoid again, but this is now there's a different goal for this mission now. Initially, I was like, this is probably just a big mouse. I'll set up a trap, snap its neck, be done with it. No problem. I do it at home, at my parents' house all the time when I go up there in the winter. But after he skirted and avoided the defenses, now the goal is to capture his tactics. I want to see what he's doing to respond and avoid and maneuver around these traps so that I can now set him up. I'll set him up with the traps, making him think like, oh, same old traps, same old setup. This is what I'm going to do to avoid. But I already know his tactics on avoidance. So I'll have the backup contingency booby traps set up to catch him in the act, catch him slipping. and I'll study these maneuvers, and I'll study them again, and I'll study them again, and I will prepare every contingency plan necessary so that any sort of survival movement he makes to avoid traps and avoid contingencies, he's just always going to be one step behind at that point. I am going to be one step ahead because this is what we do. This is what we do in the LPDS, and you know this. And this is what I've done for my military career, is study the enemy so in depth that I know when and where they're going to be taking a shit so that we can tell the guys on the ground or the fellas in the air where to strike and when every single time, and what they're going to do when they hear the footsteps coming, where they're going to run and hide, who they're going to hide behind, what walls are they going to jump, everything about it. And we know everything about these bastards. That's what we did, and we were damn good at it. And if you think I don't still have that skill set, think again, folks. We just have a new enemy. And that enemy is the rat, the cheese-eating rat. So we have to study them in the garage. I'm going to continue studying them in the garden because I have a little bit of a different issue in the garden. Now we have collateral we got to avoid. They're in friendly territory. I don't want to ruin the plants. So I have to be careful with what kind of traps and defenses we put up there so that it's not killing the plants and ruining the plants. It's just taking care of the enemy. So stay tuned for that. Just a lot going on in the neighborhood since I've been back. But with that, let's just move on to the good stuff. Try to keep it short. It's already late at night. I procrastinated because I wanted to do nothing this weekend. So I procrastinated on recording this episode. I probably should have done it earlier. Oh, well. But we'll get into the good stuff. Step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Carbonara Fingers. A good carbonara is a real treat, but there always seems to be something missing from it. A delicious post-carbonara chicken cutlet, perhaps. But what if you can have both at the same time? Well, now you can with Tony Rigatoni's all-new Carbonara Fingers. Bite into what you think is a regular old chicken fingy breaded in custom cutlet breading, only to realize that it's filled with a fresh al dente carbonara, the likes of which you only find in New Jersey. So to get your carbonara fingies today, visit your local Uncle Giuseppe's bathroom attendant, and if you use the promo code SASA, you'll get 29% off your first batch of carbonara fingies. You can fingy anything, folks. And Tony Rigatoni is doing it. Anyway, let's just move on to the Cage fact. Nic Cage, in his continued interviews for the premiere of Spider Noir and all this stuff, they're talking about everything with the guy, and he's revealing some awesome updates and things like that. Most of the stuff we already know, but he was talking about recently how there have been a number of directors who movies early on he turned down for one reason or another. Most of the time, it was because he was already lined up with other projects at the same time. They were conflicting, so he had to turn them down for that reason. But a couple, he just was not feeling the script. And again, this is early on because, later on in his career in the early 2000s, he had to take on a lot of stuff to pay off some bills, which we talked about. But he did turn down Christopher Nolan for a leading role in the movie Insomnia. I think that was, 2001, 2002? I don't remember the exact date that movie came out with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. It was up in Alaska, that whole thing. Good movie. I don't exactly know what role they offered him, but apparently Christopher Nolan is one of the directors who now refuses to take Nic Cage's calls. Nic Cage was saying how there have been a number of directors he's had to turn down in the past, and only one has ever returned his call back later, years down the road. When Nic Cage says, "Hey, I'm interested in auditioning for this role in this part, whatever it may be," um, Nic Cage said that Christopher Nolan will not return his calls anymore, doesn't want to work with him anymore. And he basically said, well, a lot of these directors just have these egos. And he admitted, he's like, I got an ego too, but these had these egos and they were rejected, and it's like they're trying to stick it back to me, like, oh, well, I don't want to work with this guy anyway, kind of thing. And they're just kind of being whiny babies about it in their response to him. And apparently, Christopher Nolan is one of them. He just refuses to have Nic Cage in his movies, which is crazy to me because you're literally saying no to the greatest to ever do it. Now, Christopher Nolan already makes pretty good, damn good movies as it is. Now imagine what he could do with the great one in one of these movies. It seems like a no-brainer, and to each his own. But unless the guy slept with your wife or something, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just because he said no to you one time, you're gonna say no to him forever. As it like, I showed him that'll show Nic Cage, and you're not showing him anything, all right? Because he's doing just fine without you, and you're doing fine without him too. I guess that's fine, but yeah. Anyway, I like Christopher Nolan. I'm not gonna completely blacklist him, but obviously we know who I'm siding on this one. So anyway, quick Cage fact for you. That's the Cage fact. You're welcome. Quick NC fact into the Cage segment today. We'll move things right along into the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. I don't want to take too much time off everyone's hands. I could probably do this in a couple episodes. This video is driving me fucking wild, folks. I can't tell you how much this little insignificant first world problem pisses me off. I can't tell you how much it pisses me off, and I have no idea how to fix it. That's what really pisses me off. Anyway, I don't. Maybe I'll do a couple episodes as I remember stories of our trip to Italy. I'll regale you with those stories. But we had a tremendous, tremendous trip, in my opinion. I was fifth wheeling it, so I can only speak from my own experience. I hope everybody else involved had a good time too. But what an adventure it was. And I already can't wait to go back. I already am trying to scheme on how to move there again and get my life in order so I could split time there. I've been doing that since the day we landed. But we had a great adventure. It started out in Lake Como, and I would argue the best part of that is, people are going to think I'm crazy, the Airbnb we had in Lake Como, which is up in the north, had a little cafe, a little coffee shop, mini pastry shop, right in the same building below the little apartment we were in. So if you know someone like me, who's going to take advantage, who's going to be crushing espressos and pastries as often as possible when you're out there, that couldn't be a better situation. It's literally, no matter where we go, whether it's on a tour, we go into town for whatever reason, any reason to leave the apartment and get out of there, we're stopping in that cafe. It's right there. It's the perfect situation. I don't have to find one around the block, nothing. It's right there for me. So I must have been in there. I was there 3 days maybe. Was it 3 nights? I think I was there. And I must have hit that spot 16 times. I became friends with the ladies who worked there. It's a family-run place. The older the husband, the father, or whatever, the older man, he was in the back making fresh bread and pastries each morning, and then the older women were running the front. There was one of the sons was working there, tall fella, He called me his friend because I was there so often. I just any chance to get a to-go espresso, to-go cappuccino, a croissant, whatever it was, a little panini. You know, I was there constantly. It was the best thing about that portion of the trip. Not because everything else stunk. It was just so clutch. One time I hit it in the morning. I was walking the creature to the with the creature to the train station because he was headed to Rome and I wanted to walk to get a lay of the land because the next day I was going to meet him in Rome. He was just going a day earlier. Uh, I hit it on the wall. As soon as we got out there, we got a quick hit of coffee and a pastry. Walked to the mile to the train station. I walked back. I ran a quick 2 miles outside. So I walked back to a general area. Then I did a quick 2 miles to burn some calories. And then on the way back into the Airbnb, I hit it again. So that was basically like in an hour, I hit it twice right there in an hour. Boom, boom. One cappuccino, then one espresso, two pastries. And that was just that was just one morning. So clutch. We had a nice tour of the lake area. We went up to Lugano in Switzerland and toured that. I had a cannoli and espresso there. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Gelatos at the ass. I must have had 6 gelatos a day. I really like the pistachio, so I stuck with lemon and pistachio most of the time. I had a couple lemon sorbets throughout, but it was every day was at least it had to be at least 4 gelatos a day. I was a madman with that stuff. And then we went to, I went to Rome. Wet Cat and and Catwoman, Mrs. Wet Cat stayed up in Lake Como the extra time. I jumped down to Rome to hit the Colosseum with Creech Daddy. And then we went to go check out the Trevi Fountain. And apparently, this is really the only thing I want to talk about with the Colosseum tour. Unfortunately, we did a self-guided tour, which was great at the Colosseum to kind of bounce around freely, but you relied on your own remembrance of history. And unfortunately, I was just not a good enough tour guide for Creature. He won't admit that. Maybe he will. I don't know. But I was making stuff like I didn't remember enough stuff about where we were in each portion of the Colosseum and the Roman Forum and this and that. So I was guessing. I was using a lot of references from the Gladiator. So he didn't get a good history lesson from me. But we did have a good tour. But then we went to the Trevi Fountain and some other stuff around town. And apparently the Trevi Fountain is the 7-Eleven. It's the movie theater of Rome. And you know what I'm talking about? When you're in middle school, high school, there was the hangout spot. For me, it was mostly the 7-Eleven, sometimes the movie theater, not so much, or the mall. The mall was big at my age. And that's where the kids just hung out and loitered. And, they never went into the movies. They just hung outside in the parking lot or in the theater, go to the arcade inside the movie theater, whatever. The Trevi Fountain apparently is where the kids in Rome hang out. It was a whole bunch of high school age looking kids, maybe some young college age kids, just fucking around after hours at night because the Trevi Fountain now has a line that you have to pay €2 to get in during the day to keep the bums out. Barbone is the Italian for bum. So they have to keep the Barbones out during the day so that people can go and do their thing, take their pictures in front, throw their coins in there, and enjoy the fountain. But then at night, it's not. It's a free-for-all. And most of the people there were not tourists. Most of the people there were just kids loitering and hanging out. And it was mobbed. At 11 o'clock at night, it was mobbed there. There was a couple of wannabe influencers taking their pictures in full dresses to take pictures in front of the fountain. Otherwise, it was just regulars. And they were just chilling, ripping heaters, playing, card games, just being kids. And I thought that was interesting. It was annoying if you're a tourist and you're trying to get a picture and enjoy, especially late at night, you think it's going to be less crowded. But at the same time, it's also like Imagine you get to say that. It's like, oh yeah, oh, you hung out at movie theaters or at CVS parking lots when you were a kid. Well, I hung out at the Trevi Fountain, dude. That's where our hangout spot was. That's pretty cool. So anyway, then we bounced. I'm trying to rush through this because, like I said, I could talk about this all day. This trip was tremendous for me. It always is. Going there, it always is. Um, but I only spent one day in Rome, or one night, I guess I should say, because then we were meeting up with the Cat family to take the train down to Naples. But one thing I did find funny too. There's a lot of things I find funny, but at the hotel there was this fella. When I got in, I met the creature there, and he happened to be getting done with the Vatican tour as I was checking into the hotel. So we're both in the lobby, and come to find out, there's this fella there. He's wearing a linen shirt, button down linen shirt, like linen pants. It looks like, good looking fella, chiseled jawline, like a pseudo beard, 5 o'clock shadow, good head of hair, an Italian fella, a real, just a genuine Italian fella, just loitering in the lobby. And creature and friends said, "Hey, this guy was here before this morning when we left to go to the tour, and now he's still hanging out. Like, what the hell's going on?" And we're like, "I don't know." So then we go back to our rooms and we come back down to go to the Coliseum tour, and sure as shit, the guy's there again. It's like weird. We go to the Coliseum for an hour or 2 hours, however long we were out there. It was a little toasty out, so we try to stay in the shade as often as possible. We get back, and sure as shit, the guy's in the lobby again. We're like, what the hell is up with this guy? So then we go back up to the room, and we come back down to go get food and hit the fountain and what have you. And that guy is there again. And finally, I was once again doing what I would call recon operations. I was conducting business and actions in the lobby to see how that guy would react. Because we didn't know if he was an employee or if he was a barbone just loitering, or if he was one of those like traffickers or kidnappers that was trying to find an easy mark and was waiting to find his good prey, like a tourist to prey on, to rob them or pickpocket them or whatever. So I started taking some actions inside the lobby to see how this guy responded. And he absolutely did take action in response to my actions. And my actions weren't illegal. I wasn't stealing stuff, but I was moving around to get out of his peripheral vision to see what he would do to maneuver to get me back in his field of view. And that's what he was doing. He was maneuvering to get me back in eyesight. Um, and again, I still didn't know, like, why is this guy doing that? And he's just wearing regular clothes that are actually all wrinkled by that time, because he was wearing them all day. So I still wasn't sure what the hell the guy was about. Finally, when we went up to the front desk clerk or whatever they're called. I was like, listen, I wanted to go up and be a little bit more direct and be like, hey, um, this guy is making people uncomfortable. Like, I don't like the cut of this guy's jib. This guy right here, he's not a good guy. I don't like this guy. But I was convinced to that we should, as a team, should take a more courteous approach, inquisitive approach, and it was more beneficial. It was the right call, and we just asked, like, hey, does this guy work here? Come to find out, he's their security, one of their security, and they have him wearing regular clothes so that he doesn't, scare people. So he was, I guess, undercover, if you will. And then we come to find out, they have a whole team of these, on shifts, and it's not just this guy, so he's not the only one working. But I felt a little bit more comfortable after that. I did see the next guy, the next shift of security that came in, and I was much less comfortable with that guy because that guy looked like he couldn't fight a 6-year-old girl. He was skinny fat, skinny arms, a soft gut, a soft belly. He looked like he was playing World of Warcraft for 6 months straight with no movement out of his couch whatsoever. I didn't say anything, but I really wanted to go up to the front desk people again and suggest that they have some sort of, I don't know, like standards of who they're hiring for security. Because that guy, I wanted to tell him, but I didn't because I knew if I told them they would get suspicious and probably call the polizia on me, and I didn't want that. But I wanted to tell him like, hey, this is your other security guy. Like I can take this guy easily. He's not going to protect anything. Like there's no chance that he's stopping a crime. But like I said, I didn't want to get in trouble under suspicion and be held under by the Italian police. So, I didn't say anything. Um, but anyway, what the hell were we talking about? Oh, I so we go out to dinner. I have another full meal plus plus an espresso at the restaurant, and then on the way back to the hotel, I what did we hit? What did I hit? A cannoli and a gelato and another espresso, all from the same place in one shot. Uh, and then we went back to the hotel and the next day we were going down to Naples. That morning, though, I had to take advantage of the breakfast because it was part of you know, we're paying for it. It was part of the room package, and I had to take advantage of that. And I absolutely did. In fact, I made friends with one of the ladies who was working there. She saw I was making a cappuccino in their machine. She goes, "Oh, you like a cappuccino in the morning?" I was like, "Yeah, cappuccino, espresso, whatever. Like I like it all." So I was gonna try it. She's like, "Listen, we make our own in the back kitchen. That's way better than this computerized machine bullshit that we let the steerage customers use." She goes, "You want one of those?" I said, "Absolutely, absolutely." And she came right along with it, VIP treatment, right to my table where I was sitting by myself with plates full of food. And the Italians, the Europeans do breakfast a little different. They had the eggs and shit for the Americans because they know that's what they like, bacon and eggs. They very much attempted to have breakfast sausage, but it was really just cut up Vienna sausages, so it looked like a pile of hot dogs. I didn't go for those. I went for the bacon and eggs, naturally for the protein, and then they had a whole bunch of like cured meats, prosciutto, melon, cheeses, all that stuff. So I dug into everything, a couple, a croissant here and there, whatever, whatever. And then she came in and she gave me this fresh, beautifully crafted cappuccino with a little cinnamon on top, and it really got the day going for me. Because we had to huff it over to the train station later in the morning to meet up with the wet cats, and then take an hour and a half train ride down to Naples, and then from Naples we took Naples terminal. We had to get to the ferry to get to the Amalfi Coast Positano where we were going to stay the rest of the time, and that's what we did. We took the ferry. I got a ton of steps in. Uh, and the only thing keeping me energized was every time there was a spot for me to hit for a cannoli or gelato or an espresso or all three of them, I was hitting them. I was hitting them. And that kept me going in these longer days of a lot of steps and carrying our bags, beep bopping around Italy. That's what I did. And then we got to Positano and we had an incredible Airbnb. Now, let me tell you something though. What I did not realize, and I don't think any of us realized, was while our Airbnb was on the lower portion of the town, the town is basically built into a cliffside. If you've ever seen pictures of it, it's steep, or steep, steep, steep. I think they call it like the city on a staircase almost because it looks like a staircase. It's so steep in that cliffside that they built homes and towns and the whole town into. Everything was steep. So even though we were on the lower end, We had to walk up 200 plus stairs, and then we got to go up to one precipice, and then we had to go down another staircase to get to the door to our Airbnb. There was no like street level door or elevators or nothing like that. We had to go up a staircase, down half another staircase, all with our bags, our roller bags, our backpacks. We didn't, the ladies weren't carrying their bags. That was a rule. You don't carry your bags. We got it. We'll take care of it for you. So the creature's holding a bunch of bags. The wet cat's holding a bunch of bags. We're sweating. Our arms are dying. We're burning. We're ripping through calories. We're going up steps. Our legs are like jello by the time we get to the front door, or I guess the back door of this Airbnb. But let me tell you something. It was absolutely worth it because we had a balcony overlooking the entire town. We had a little like trellis overhang to keep us shady and cool. And if it rained, it kept us protected from that. We had a whole kitchen area. They had a little mini Nespresso machine in there, so I can get quick hitters, to get me prepped for taking the stairs back down to town. Every time I wanted to go eat or do something, we had to take those steps again. So it was treacherous hiking. No way JPL2 or JPL3 could have made that trip right now. Not in his condition with his new knee. It would have been impossible. It would have been impossible. We would have had to airlift him to the Airbnb. So it was nice to get the Nespresso hitters in there, but they were, in my opinion, Nespressos are what Americans think is good coffee machine espresso, like electric machine espresso, and it's not, in my opinion. I grew up on homemade espresso from my grandparents, cousins, relatives, Italian relatives coming over from Italy and visiting us, and this and that. So that's just, it doesn't do it for me. It's not strong. It never comes out hot enough. It's just, I would never own an espresso myself. My parents have one for when guests come over. It makes a better cup of coffee than the Keurig, the K cups, which I think are dog shit, complete waste of money. I had one my first year out of college in Pensacola. My roommate had one, and because he got a deal on the K cups, and that's the only reason why we had one. But they're fucking weak. They're so weak, and they don't come out hot. I just make coffee on a pot on the stove, old school style. But this was going to do the trick to get me down the stairs to get the fresh hits we need from the homemade jobs, from the cafes and the what have yous. So that was enjoyable. And then we went up to my favorite restaurant, I think in all the world. I talked about this a billion times, L'Italiata. It's the one that Sal the barber told us about. I don't need to belabor that point, but we had a tremendous meal up there, a bunch of wine, food, pastas, meats out the ass, an assortment of desserts. It's really, I think it's my favorite restaurant in the world for a number of reasons, but just the way they go about their business, it's easy. Now I know that it's very popular with the tourists these days, and I don't know how many of the locals still go there regularly, but if I lived there, that might be a weekly place I go to and become friends with them so I can get I can get good deals on food, but they just make it easy for you. There's no nonsense. You don't have to pick from a menu. They create the menu based on what they have available from their garden that day, for that week or whatever, and you just pay the flat rate and you get antipasto, you get salad, you get vegetables, you get 3 different types of pasta, 4 different types of pasta, then you get your meats, then you get your desserts. So you just sit there and eat. That's it. That's all you do. And if you have to go to the toilet to make room, you go to the toilet to make room and come back to your table and eat more. So we got to do that. And then we got very fortunate. We signed up for this tour of Pompeii, and I love Pompeii, but it was, it's not near the Amalfi Coast in the sense that you can just, take a quick subway. Like it's a trek. You have to pay an expensive Uber each way, or you have to have your own car to get there. But we got really lucky. Somebody found a tour that the van picks you up in the town we were in Positano, takes you to Pompeii, gives you a tour, and then drives you back. It was beautiful. So that's what we did. We got driven over there, and we get lined up with the tour guides. They have a bunch of them, and wouldn't you know it, we got lined up with a tour guide. His name was Salvatore. He goes by Sasa, and he was Italian born, New Jersey raised. And then he moved back to Italy to follow in his family's footsteps of being Pompeii tour guides, third generation tour guide. He said, but I think he said he lived in Trenton, New Jersey, from age like 3 to 19 or something like that, and then he moved back over to Italy. So he did his thing in the beginning. Where asked where people were from, and that's how he referred to people. So he didn't have to remember everybody's names. He just knew, like, this is the New York group, this is the Swedish group, this is the Colorado group, and then it was me. I was the only one from Jersey, and we instantly hit it off, became best pals. He was a tremendous tour guide. Knew about the history like you couldn't believe. Entertained you throughout the whole time. He had jokes. He had quips. He gave us little insider information about, like, hey, everybody goes in there and they take pictures of the bodies and what have you, and they sit in the sun and they get and the tour guide is talking to them in the sun and the heat. We're gonna go talk about it here in the shade, and I'm gonna let you go run over to take pictures so you don't have to sit there and roast and deal with the crowds. We're already gonna talk about the history. So he gave us like the heads up in the shade and the comfort before we went out to go see the different locations of Pompeii, of the ruins. He hooked us up. He let us know, like, hey, we're gonna step it out. We're gonna pace ourselves and go faster through this real quick because I want to take you to this portion of the ruins of the city before the crowds get there, so we have better access. So we'll come back to this other stuff, but let's go there first. Take care of business there so you can enjoy it and not be too crowded and cramped. And then we come back to this shit over here. He hooked it up. And for the 2 hours that we were out there, he said, listen, we're supposed to be here till 11:30, but if we're here longer, I'll call up the van and let them know, hey, we're going to be longer because you didn't pay the money. You didn't travel all the way out here to get shortchanged on your tour because of timelines and other people around you that you can't control. You're going to get your money's worth. And that's exactly what he did. He gave us our money's worth. Apparently, the city is so big it takes about 4 days to fully do your own, even a self-guided tour of the whole town, the whole ruins town that they've uncovered from the volcano there. Which I didn't realize that's how big it was. And then I saw an overhead map of what they uncovered, and it's big. It was the full town they have access to. So at least the ruins of it, not full on buildings, but I mean the city was buried under 26 feet of ash, and they were able to dig it up eventually and find some shit. So the fact that they have basically the full town's perimeter uncovered is awesome, is impressive. And he taught us all about that. It was just a fun experience. And I ate like a madman. And you could tell that. You can ask the creature about this too. He might actually, he'll vouch for me as well. I don't think I've ever eaten like that ravenously ever in my life, except for maybe towards the end of boot camp when we only had 10 minutes to eat and I was hungry and I was shoveling food in me. Like I said before, I had a goal to lose weight before the trip so that I can break even at the end of the trip. And that's exactly what I did. I lost about 10 or so pounds before the trip to prepare for what I was about to do. And what I was about to do was eat until I couldn't fit another thing of food in my mouth, until I was going to throw up or crap my pants or whatever. And that's exactly what I did. and I gained about 10 pounds. It was really closer to 7 or 8 because of water weight and stuff that I got back on Thursday evening. I weighed myself. I was 10 pounds heavier than when I left. And then by Friday morning, I was already down 3 pounds. So I think there was a lot of water and dumpy weight in there. So I did exactly what I set out to do. I overate. I ate from other people's bowls. If they were done with their meal, there was no leftovers going to waste. I was eating as much as I could. If we took leftovers, I took it back to the Airbnbs or the hotel, and I finished it there too. No food was being wasted. We did as much as we could. We ate as much as we could, and we got our money's worth for damn sure. Because we knew we were only going to be there for 10 days. If I lived there, obviously I wouldn't be eating like that. I'd have to be, normalize a diet for sure. But we were getting our money's worth, and I absolutely did. And it was well worth it. And I was able, I think, because of the food and the ingredients, and the flour they have in their pastas and pizzas, I was able to take more in before I started feeling like a bag of shit. Here at home, because of the folic acid in the flour and the preservatives in the food and all this other bullshit, if I'm eating pasta or carb heavy stuff like pizza, I feel like shit after one bowl. My stomach starts feeling like garbage, and I start feeling full. There, you'll feel full and bloated, but I didn't feel like shit, and I can take more in before I started to feel that full bloated feeling. My stomach didn't hurt. I didn't feel like I was hungover or anything like I do here, but I was able to eat much more before I started getting that full feeling. And I was eating a lot. Pizzas all the time. Again, the cannolis and gelatos, I can't express to you how much of that I was eating. I wish I logged it. I could probably go back to the receipts and log how many cannolis and gelatos and espressos I had, but I mean, I was an animal. I was a ravenous beast with that stuff. Every meal ended with some sort of dessert, whether it was one of those lemon sorbets or a lemon gelato or a pistachio gelato and a coffee, or full on cannolis and full on cakes or like it was always every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That was at the very least, and then if there was time between meals, there was snack gelatos being had, snack cannolis, snack pastries. It had to be done. It had to be done. I was not gonna go there and get McDonald's and watch what I eat because I don't want to get no. I was there to try to get fatter. I already built into my life a 10-pound window to gain because that's why I cut the weight beforehand so that I had 10 pounds to give without any issues. And that's what I took. I took 10 pounds. I filled myself up like you couldn't believe. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I have no regrets whatsoever. I only wish I could have fit more food in my gut. But I was at capacity. I was at my limit every time. And in fact, my dumpy schedule was all out of whack. All out of whack. And I was hurting. There was some times where I was hurting. It would be like a full day where I didn't take a dumpy, and I was hurting because I had pounds of pasta and gelatos and coffees and everything in there. Everything was in there, and I was doing everything I could, thousands of steps a day, trying to make more room. I did everything I could. I only wish I could have done more in the food eating department. I'll just have to prepare better for next year. That's all. Not that I failed. I definitely did not fail, but I want to eat more. I want to take more advantage of that when I'm out there for sure. So I'll prepare better. Maybe I'll lose 20 pounds before the next trip so I can really take down some meals. I just got to get out on a dumpy schedule. That's all. The only other thing that we did was we stayed in Naples the night before because we were flying out of Naples. I have a whole episode on my theory on Naples, Italy. So I'm going to hold off on that. I'm gonna hold off on that. Maybe the next episode. I also told you guys I would do a movie review, as requested by the Bone Crusher in last week's episode. He brought up a good movie to review, Crazy Stupid Love. So if you haven't seen that movie with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling, maybe go check it out, and then maybe we'll do a review. But I also want to do a Naples review because I have some things to say about Naples. Yeah, I have some things I want to get off my chest about Naples, Italy, but that's for a different time. All in all, this trip was amazing. I have nothing but good things to say about it and the company, the brothers that I spent the time with. Just tremendous. When I say this, I mean it. I am literally working to find ways to split time there. I know if I spend 3 months there, I can get dual citizenship. So I've been actively looking at how to make that work with like getting Randy over there and getting like if I have to get a work visa or how that all works to be able to stay there for 3 months. Whether I'm staying with family in the South or finding an apartment or something, whatever. Like, I just love it out there. I'm a man on a mission now. I have this purpose with Spearhead to help, grow it. So I have the ability to help my parents out, help my friends, family out, in financially, like retire my parents, pay off their house, whatever. And then the other purpose, the other reason for that growth in Spearhead is to be able to live that life out there, be able to spend more time in relaxation mode and vacation mode, if you will, as opposed to, working your life away here 9 to 5 or even more. So I'm going to, make the sacrifices even more so now and really get into the trenches more so now so that I can do that in the future, which means sacrificing, hangouts and trips and dinners and what have you, but it'll be well worth it. I can't express how fun that trip was. And again, with the brotherhood, it makes it even better. That's the reason why it was so fun. So yeah, I can talk about this all day, every day, but for your sakes, that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, very quickly, the big three, the 3 pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, being able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Number 1, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve your health and fitness physically, mentally, or emotionally. Number 2, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty, negative person. Be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to be negative or shitty towards somebody, whether in person or on the internet, even if you think they deserve it, take a deep breath, take the LPDS step back, detach from those negative emotions, and remove yourself from the situation. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you can do this each day by taking a few seconds to think about one good thing going on in your life or one good thing that happened to you in the last 24 hours and think about what your life would be like without that thing. And that'll put you immediately in a state of gratitude. And from there, you can sort of take forward actions in that gratitude, and it'll be a lot easier to remove yourself from negative situations and allow you the capacity to go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives, like exercising every day. Thank you guys again for tuning in. What did I miss here? I know what I missed. If you do these 3 things each and every day, a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, I promise you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies, and hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. Miss the hotline, give me a hotline call. Tell your enemies the hotline number so they can prank call it or troll me or whatever you got. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.